G'day everyone, I'm the man called Kemosabe, the man with the plan from the land down under, and this is my review of Black Bishop by the prolific and controversial Marcel Dupree, with story by Guido Martinez and art by Gaurav Shrivastana. This comic is about the eponymous Black Bishop, an agent for the top secret UK organisation known as the Board. Get it? They're the Board, and she is the Black Bishop. One would assume that there is a White Bishop, a White Rook, Black Queen, etc., a naming convention used by Marvel's Hellfire Club and DC's Checkmate, and one that I am very fond of myself. I didn't see any evidence that the Board is a government-funded organisation. Rather, it appears to exist like the Kingsman and the Statesman, independent organisations with their own agendas. The story wastes no time. Black Bishop infiltrates a top-secret facility using stealth, computer hacking, cutting torches, X-ray vision and retina mimicry to bypass security scans. When she discovers the facility is creating high-tech weapons that mimic superpowers as part of an international metahumans arms race, she blows up the facility and escapes, shooting her way out. She tells the audience she regrets ending the mission like this, but concedes that it's not the first nor the last time that she uses violence. In this one scene, Bishop has been shown to be loyal to her employers, practical, competent at stealth and face-to-face combat, and well equipped with a range of Bond-like gadgets to make her job easier. Now this is how you start an action comic. Bishop reports to the Board, and they level accusations at her. They allege that she's let slip top-secret information. She denies the charge, but they produce video evidence that she was seduced by a reporter and, while drunk, Bishop revealed important details. These details being made public led to White Knight being compromised and killed during a mission. Bishop is excommunicated from the Board and decides to try to fix the problem she caused. She stakes out the next agent on the list, White Rook. Her logic is that if someone is targeting agents on the Board, Rook might be next. Rook's home is attacked by a single assailant who dispatches his security effortlessly. The two combatants fight, with the attacker being revealed as a candidate for the Black Knight position before he and his father were betrayed, as he put it, by the Board. Going by the name of Union now, he kills White Rook despite Bishop intervening. Union spontaneously develops superpowers and cuts Rook in half with a kind of heat vision. Union escapes and Bishop uses her last contacts within the organisation to track down Union's location. He's hiding out in China, the nation that has been giving him training and resources to fuel his war against the Board. Bishop arrives in China, has a scuffle with China's premier super team, and leads them right to Union's location. During the ensuing fight, it's revealed Union is using a drug that mimics the powers of superhumans he's in proximity with. He uses the Imperial's own powers against them, and just as it looks like he will win, Bishop uses her gadgets to exploit the weaknesses the Imperials, and now Union, have. She manages to force him to power down and then executes him for his crimes. She leaves a note letting the Board know that she was responsible, then goes on holiday to spend some time working out who she is and who she wants to be, now that she's a free agent. And on that philosophical note, the book ends. There's a lot I like in this book. I like the baked-in notion of superhumans. I like the high-tech gadgets. I like the slide into spy-fi more so than straight-up cape comics. I like the smart ways superpowers are being used and thought about. Few things frustrate me more when engaging with superhero fare than characters not using their powers effectively, or even worse, straight up forgetting they have certain powers. Bishop is a sexy character, always very buoyant when on screen. A bit of cheesecake doesn't hurt the legitimacy of a book, and financially, I'd say it even helps. The colours in this book are bold, easy to follow, and each scene has its own palette, its own mood. The art is better than good. Bishop herself is well designed and always well drawn. If you can overlook the conceit that a spy would show that much cleavage, you'll enjoy looking at this book. I'd like to see a little more variation of line thickness, especially to indicate depth and positioning of characters on the page, and the backgrounds are sometimes a little simple, but that could also be because so many of them are cityscapes and office building interiors. There's only so much one could do with those, but in the white-collar world of government-run superheroes, offices often come into play. While this is a fun book, easy to pick up, easy to understand, and easy to read, it doesn't have a lot of high stakes. Sure, Bishop is fighting for her life and her reputation, but there is very little time spent humanising her. Little to nothing is known about her outside of her role as Bishop. If that's intentional, if that was the point, a sad, lonely scene of her empty life, a la Captain America's apartment scene in Winter Soldier, would help us empathise with her as someone who gave up everything for this organisation, only to be exiled and cast aside the moment she made a single mistake. Understandably, there's limits on what one can show due to the page count of the comic, but Bishop isn't especially likeable. She's not unlikable either, she just kind of is. She might, in fact, be the least interesting part of the book. The Imperials, the Board, White Rook and Union are all more interesting than she is. But she is easier to look at. Perhaps the most unlikable thing about Bishop is the simple fact that she did, in fact, get drunk and hook up with some random who she told all her secrets to. including details about the board and her fellow agents. That random just happened to be a reporter. The reporter admits to feeding Bishop drinks to keep her drunk for her own ends, but the fact is Bishop allowed it to happen. She gave in to her own desires, her whims, and it got people killed. That's not very heroic. The rest of the book is spent trying to right this wrong, but I'm afraid the well might already be poisoned. Would I have thought about this differently if the reporter that seduced her was male, or if Bishop was male, seduced by a female reporter? Maybe. Maybe there's something just so frivolous about this drunken lesbian hookup in my mind that makes Bishop's crime seem worse than it actually is. Bishop's eyes appear to be enhanced somehow. They're black or grey with gold or yellow irises. It looks very cool. Early on in the book, she's able to mimic the retinal scan of a high-ranking general. Whether she did it with the aid of some kind of high-tech contact lenses, or if her eyes can change shape to pass for another person, is left unsaid. And as much as I enjoy a little bit of implicit storytelling, I do feel like Black Bishop is ultimately a fairly shallow story. It'd function well as a zero issue, released after a few issues of the main story had been successful on the racks, or as a backup story or a flashback issue where characters we see in the past have meaningful story links to the present. On its own as a #1 issue, I don't know if there is enough to bring audiences back for issue 2 and beyond. Which is a shame, because there's a lot of good stuff in here. All the right parts are present, but this book suffers something of an identity crisis. It's not quite a titty book, it's not quite a spycraft book, it's not quite a superhero book. It has elements of all, but doesn't choose any one camp to sit in. Not that a book needs to, there are plenty of genre mashups that are wildly successful. I would suggest that for a while, genre mashups were the way to go, with Amazon indie authors scrabbling to find the next perfect combination of story types. Black Bishop could succeed as a genre mashup, but either due to the conventions of the genres or the page count limitation, we never really get enough of any one of these to stick. If someone enjoyed the book and was willing to continue to buy in, to essentially invest in Black Bishop as a property, I believe they'd end up with a fun, fast-paced and action-packed story of spy-fi superheroes and international espionage. And boobs. Again, all the pieces are already there. If you have the patience to wait for these pieces to be assembled, I bet you'll end up with a book that you're happy you supported. It's a gamble, a slow build due to the limitations of the crowdfunding indie comic scene in an age of Netflix-addicted binge consumers. I'm hoping and counting on it pays off for all involved.